7.
The Radio Wammo Breakfast.
Bond does Deutschland. It's Kirsty Bond in Germany.
Certainly is, and she joins us today, which is evening, of course. Good morning, good evening. How are you?
Fine, thank you. And yourself?
Very well, thanks. Very well. Today, just by the indication of what you've been sending through to me this week, we're going to be talking about roads and driving, basically anything to do with about cars and German roads.
That's the hot topic this morning, indeed. Shall we start with potholes?
Yeah. Well, first of all, have you been doing any driving?
Well, yes, I just learnt to drive. I had to sort of relearn to drive, as you'd imagine. Now I'm on the right-hand side of the road as opposed to the left. So I've been driving for a couple of months now and starting to feel a little bit more confident. I can actually make my way to work and back without using the navigation system now, which is a big upgrade from a few months ago.
Yeah. What about the Autobahn?
The Autobahn is another story altogether. I mean, I've been driving on it every day now, so I've got the hang of it, but the first time was a bit frightening, to be honest, because, as you know, there's no speed limit, so I'm sort of getting used to driving on the right-hand side, and meanwhile everyone's just zooming past me at 140 or 50 kilometres an hour.
So people actually do go nuts?
I thought they would go more nuts than what they do, because you'd expect that because there's no speed limit that most people would be charging through at 150 on a regular basis, but I'd say most people sort of stick around 130, which is what the recommended speed limit actually is. But you do get people who are just like going mental, just right up the back of your car, just wanting to get past, and that's all just part of the culture, I guess.
but in saying that, because back here in New Zealand, we're reviewing some of our road laws and also the age limit for starting to drive and alcohol limits and that kind of thing. And what's been coming out of that is our standard of driving is terrible apparently to the rest of the world. And even though in a place like Germany where you've got these rules that are quite foreign to us about no speed limits on motorways. They're far safer in Germany, apparently.
Well, they're in pretty good condition, so the roads are straight and the lanes are wide. There's a massive barrier dividing you from the people coming in the opposite direction. So just because there's no speed limit, it doesn't mean that everyone's crashing all the time.
Yeah.
And they have actually done studies that show that these kinds of roads are safer than regular roads.
Yeah, and you just said there that the road conditions are pretty good, and the first story we've got here is about potholes.
Yeah, well, that's a bit of a contradiction, isn't it? The roads are not perfect, let's say that. The autobahns tend to be pretty smooth, although I thought they'd be smoother. But generally when you get into smaller towns, the state of the roads can be quite shocking. There's potholes everywhere, there's different types of surfaces, there's half cobblestoned, half tar sealed, but there's this one town whose roads have been left in a pretty shocking state after such a long, severe winter, and so they've come up with a novel idea of filling in the potholes of their town because they've run out of money in the budget to repair the roads.
Yeah.
So people can now go online and take a look at the different potholes. There's pictures of them. They can pick out the pothole that suits them best, and then they can buy it. So they can spend €50 to purchase a pothole, and then that pothole will get filled in, and they can even have a little message or their name printed on the top of it.
What a dinky wee idea. I quite like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd buy a pothole, but it is a good idea to get the roads sorted out, I guess. Although I can imagine it causing being a bit of a hazard. If you bought a pothole, you'd want to be taking your friends over to see it all the time. If you had friends come to visit, you'd take them out onto the road and
exactly
get your picture taken to your pothole, wouldn't you?
Well,
so,
you would. You'd want to bring the family round. You'd want to everyone huddle around the pothole. Or you'd probably want a little picture of it in your wallet as well that you can pull out at the pub. Check out my pothole.
Exactly.
Another issue to do with roads, but probably a little bit wider than that, is Street View. Now, we've had Street View here in New Zealand for a couple of years now. In fact, I think they're going around refreshing some of the pictures around the country. What about Street View in Germany?
Well, it seems that New Zealand was quite ahead of the times because Street View hasn't quite eventuated here in Germany yet, although the Street View cars have been cruising around the streets of Germany for the past year or so now. But Google has come up against quite a bit of opposition from the government and has been having a bit of a hard time trying to convince the authorities that Street View isn't going to pose a massive threat to people's privacy. Well, I don't know about how you found out about Street View happening in New Zealand, Wammo, but I remember just sitting in the office and all of a sudden someone sent me a link and said, hey, type in your address, and so you do, and all of a sudden you can see your mum emptying the letterbox or the neighbour's dog going to the toilet on your lawn or something like this.
Yeah,
and that was the first most people had heard of it.
Yeah, it did just happen, really, didn't it? Yeah.
It happened overnight, and we weren't given the choice to actually say, yes, we're for it or against it. But here there's been months of this ongoing debate and opposition, and even the Consumer Affairs Minister has been threatening to take legal action against Google. But the Chancellor has last week come out and said that the government won't be hampering Google's efforts to go ahead and get this launched by the end of the year. So it looks like it's all going to happen, but Google in the process have had to put a few rules in place. They're going to be blurring out all the any faces that appear and all the number plates that appear.
Yeah.
And people can actually opt out before the images actually go online, so they're able to say, no, I don't want my house to be a part of this, and they get that chance before the thing's even launched, which is the opposite situation to all the other countries that this is going on.
Because after it was launched here, the faces were already blurred and number plates were already blurred, but you couldn't blur a house until it was actually up. So that's interesting.
Right. Yes, and apparently you can't get anything unblurred. So if somebody buys a house and chooses to have it blurred, then if they sell that house to you and you want your house to be there on Street View, then there's no chance.
Oh, that's just silly. Silly.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's like a general population-wide paranoia about privacy. I'm thinking not, because I did a quick office poll. Mind you, it was of young people all under the age of 30, and nobody seemed too fussed about it. Everyone was either for it or seemingly indifferent. But there were some people who sort of had a bit of a protest and put signs outside their house when these cameras were doing rounds.
Google, you're not welcome.
Don't think that would. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't think it really would have much effect.
Ah, interesting.
Have you heard of apparently somebody actually in the UK dressed up as Where's Wally when the cameras came round, which I thought was quite a cool approach.
Yeah, in the States, particularly in San Francisco, they knew when the cameras were going to be coming around, and there were particular art installations and people posed for the cameras. I actually saw the camera in Auckland at the end of last year, twice in one day.
Did you?
So I'm waiting for those pictures to come up, because I might be appearing in the city in two different places at the same time.
Whoa, how on earth could you do that?
It won't be Where's Wally, it'll be Where's Wammo. Yeah.
Sounds cool.
Hey, thanks, Kirsty, for telling us all about it and keeping us informed about roads, roading, and autobahns, and driving, and potholes, and street view.
Roads.
Thanks so much. We'll catch you next time.